So, I mean, gold goes up and everyone's against gold. I think gold's going much higher. Much higher.
Why?
Why? Because it's the safe haven for if you're China. It's a safe haven if you're in any currency that could be debased. I mean, if the Japanese had any horse sense, they'd be buying gold.
Jim, the first question is about gold. Is it too late to get in the rally?
No, absolutely not. I mean, gold is still down substantially from where it was. A lot of these gold plays, I think, are being downgraded by analysts who don't believe in them, particularly Rand Gold, which is the absolute best. Gold is so far down that it still can be bought. And the junior golds, which Bruce Kamich has given you a really terrific chart for, they could double.
Gold is starting to shine. After being shunned by investors for years, the heavy metal is seeing some gains. Today, prices were up nearly 3.5%. Its best trading day since the end of 2014. For the year, gold is up more than 12%, making it the best performing asset of 2016 so far. Jackie DeAngelis tells us what's behind gold's move and if the trend higher might continue.
Gold prices have gotten off to a good start in 2016, a more than 10% pop due to volatility in the global equity market. The year-to-date move, a departure from losses in gold for the last 3 years. It's a mixture between a return to safety and optimism that the Fed won't be as aggressive at raising rates as predicted last year.
Since the beginning of the year, gold's been the darling for investors. If you look at most commodities, they're down on the year. Equity markets are very volatile, so investors are looking at gold.
Today's action, a great example. Lower equities, lower oil, giving gold a nearly $40 lift. While moves like that were commonplace just a few years ago, they've become increasingly rare. So will the gold bulls have their moment in 2016? Many are forecasting that bullion could continue to run, some of the estimates as high as $1,500.
Now, I would expect that because of the volatility in the stock market, and I think it will continue at least for the first half of the year, that investors are going to look to gold even more so.
There are risks, though, that equities will settle down and the Fed finds enough evidence to stay the course in its tightening. If those events play out, gold could lose the glitter that it gained early on. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Jackie DeAngelis.
And joining us now to talk more about gold and whether it belongs in your portfolio is Jan Van Eck. He's the CEO of Van Eck Global. Jan, welcome. Good as always to see you. Is it as simple as people are going into gold now because they're afraid of everything else?
I think what's driving the rally in gold this year is you have to take a step back and look at what's been happening since the global financial crisis. And central banks around the world have been cutting interest rates. Gold really competes with interest rates because gold doesn't pay any coupon or dividend. So, but when interest rates are negative around the world, which they started being in Europe last year, started in Japan just a couple of weeks ago, then gold looks more attractive.
So what is the best way to add it to your portfolio, and how much of a quote-unquote typical portfolio, what kind of exposure should they have?
Yeah, so generally we don't advise a very large investment in gold, something like 5% or so. It's really meant to be a hedge to an overall portfolio over the long term. But you do have these risks to the financial sector now, and the risks of can the Fed really get the economy going? Does it have to go back to a QE4 kind of situation? So we think this is a really great time to be buying the golds.
Where are the bull markets? Well, first there's the bull market in gold. I was still reading my Twitter file, and people said, well, why didn't you tell me that Newmont was going to go up? I did. Bruce Kamich, I just put a link to his stuff. He is the hottest technician in this market, K-A-M-I-C-H. He's on Real Money. I tell people Real Money is saving and making more money for people than I've ever seen it since I set it up, literally 16 years ago. Kamich, Doug Cass, they've been dead right. And I think that you got to listen. Cass basically said, listen, I was negative about the FANGs, and now he's kind of, a little more neutral. Kamich is saying buy gold, buy the junior golds. I am in total agreement. I think they're absolutely just terrific.